Okay, we just finished going over problems about the law of sines, so we should have that down pretty good. Now, what we're going to do another law, and we've talked about this. Now, we talked about that we were going to use it, but I haven't shown you one thing about it yet, have I? Okay, I did on Friday say we are going to use the law of cosines, but we didn't say anything about it.
Is this lesson 8?
It's still 8-6. Okay, remember there's 2 parts. I was supposed to teach it in one day, law of sines and law of cosines in the same day. I figured I'd split them up just to give you a day or two to let the first one sink in a little bit, okay? So here's law of sines. Law of sines really doesn't look anything like the law of cosines doesn't look anything like the law of sines. But it does look like something that we've learned before. It looks, at the beginning of it anyway, it looks just like Pythagorean theorem. So do you remember how we wrote Pythagorean theorem?
C squared.
Yeah. Yeah, c squared equals a squared plus b squared. That's how the law of cosines starts off. Then we got a little extra. So you already know half of the law of cosines right now. Okay? And I'm writing it like this on purpose. I'm writing the c first, not a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm writing like this on purpose. Okay? Now here's the rest of it. This is the part that you didn't know before. Minus 2ab cosine of angle C. There's 2 C's here. This is the angle. This is the length of the side. Right? And it's not just any old angle. Guess what it is? It's the angle that's what? Opposite side C. Very good. Okay, it's the angle that's opposite this side right here that's sitting there by itself. Right? What do you think that A and B is? It's what? It's the other 2 sides. That's right. It's the other 2 sides of the triangle. So this side right here is a specific side. This side is specifically the side that's opposite this angle right here. Okay, so if you only know one angle, and you want to find the side that's opposite, that's going to be this C right here. Make sense? All right. Let's do an example. All right, here's our triangle. We're going to use law of cosines on it. Just for fun, let's kind of look at it and see if we could have used the law of sines. Could we use the law of sines? Well, we're solving for x, aren't we? And we do know an angle, so far so good, right? We can put that into the law of sines. But my problem is this. I'm given a side, but I don't know the opposite angle here, do I? So there's really no way that I can use the law of sines with this. There's just no way. There's no way to figure out what either one of these angles are. All right, so without something else, and that's what we're going to do right now, and that's we're going to use the law of cosines. Now look, you have to memorize the law of sines. You have to memorize the law of cosines. Everybody hear me on that? Yes, okay, sir. I'm not going to put them on a test. I'm not going to put them on a quiz. You have to memorize them. So what I would do, this is my suggestion, every single problem you do when I give you the law of cosines, I would rewrite the formula every single time. All right? If you just write it once at the top and just refer back to it every single time, you're not going to memorize it. All right? What I would do, every single problem, I'd cover it up, and then I'd write the law of cosines brand new every single time. All right? So let's do it. Let's do it. It starts off looking like what? Like Pythagorean theorem. Okay? So we know that part of it, right? Then there's a little bit of extra stuff. Try to do it without looking every time. And it's not that much, is it? Really, all you got to memorize is just this little bit right here. You already know Pythagorean theorem. Minus 2ab cosine C. That's not too hard to remember, is it? Nope, but you got to remember it. So this is what we're using right here. Now, I got 3 sides. I got x, 9, and 11. How do I know which one's going to be the C?
11.
Because look at the one angle that I have. There's no hypotenuse. There's no hypotenuse on this. You can't say hypotenuse. There's only a hypotenuse if you have what kind of a triangle? A right triangle. We don't know that we have a right angle or right triangle, do we? All right, so I can't say hypotenuse. The C does not necessarily represent the longest side either. On Pythagorean theorem it did, didn't it? It was always the longest side, which is opposite the right angle. But do I have a right angle here? No. So I can't say that this is the longest side, or I can't say it's the hypotenuse. There's no way. But it is what? It's the side that's opposite the angle. Okay, so if they give me an angle, 28, that's the only angle they give me, what does the x have to be in this formula? That's got to be my what? My C. That's right. It's got to be the C. Make sense? So this has to be the C. What's the 9 and 11 have to be in this little formula? That's the A and the B. Exactly. Make sense? It's really not that hard to figure out. The hardest part about this is using your calculator, to tell you the truth. So let's go C squared. Again, in this triangle, it's going to be x. So I go x squared equals a squared plus b squared. What's my a and b? 9 and 11. So I go what? 9 squared plus 11 squared. See what I'm doing? I'm just plugging stuff into this formula. Minus 2 times what? This is multiplication, isn't it? Times a, which was 9, times b, which was 11, and then the cosine of angle C, the angle that's opposite this side. What is that? It's 28. So really the hardest thing about this, besides using the calculator, is just knowing where to put the numbers. That's all there is to it. Right? Again, C has to be the side that's opposite that angle. Make sure you keep that straight. That's what a lot of people get mixed up. A lot of people think C is the longest side. They'd make it 11. No. It's the side that's opposite the angle that they give you.
How do you know 11 is the longest side?
Don't know it's the longest side.
Exactly.
Right. And that's my point too. Okay? So here we go. Let's figure out how we're going to put this in a calculator. Let me give you a little bit of a hint here. Let's go yellow. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this a little bit thicker. I'm going to put a big old parentheses right here. I'm going to put a big old parentheses right here. Do you see that parentheses? That's what you're going to use in your calculator. Your calculator actually has parentheses in it. On this calculator, they're right here and right here. Look on your TI-30XA, whatever calculator you're using. Find your parentheses. They're on there, aren't they? Yeah, and it's still above the 8 and the 9 even on that smaller calculator. All right, so that's going to help us out. Now watch what we're going to do. Do you see why I made them big and made them a different color? Okay, don't pop your gum anymore. You got to throw it out. I made it a different color because this is what you have to actually put into your calculator. Let me show you how to do it on this calculator first. And then we'll show you how to do it on a 30, whatever it is. I always forget that number. What is it? TI-30XA, right? Yeah, I've said it enough. I should remember. So here we go. If I'm going to put this all in my calculator, I'm going to go 9 squared plus 11 squared minus, now what do I put? I don't just put a 2. What do I put? A parentheses, right? Did I make it big and yellow enough for you? Right there? Yeah. Big old parentheses. So I put a parentheses. Then I hit 2. Then I hit times 9. And then what else? Times 11. Now I don't just put an 11 there. Put times 11. And then if you had a TI-30, you'd put times 28 cosine. But what I do on this calculator, I just hit cosine 28. Then what's that big yellow thing right there? Close it. So that closes the 28, but I need another one that closes that whole thing. Everybody see that? See, this parentheses is closed by that one right there. Then I hit equals. Is that my answer? Is it 27? No, because x squared equals 27 points whatever. What is it? 17 dot dot dot. Okay? So what do I do to get x by itself? Square root it. So I take square root. In this calculator, what do I have to do? Square root of the answer, right? And then I do it, and it's 5.2. It's a side, so we'll round it to 5.2. 5.2. Right, that's what the squiggly equals is. It's approximately 5.2. X squared is equal to all that. Then I have to take the square root of this, take the square root of that, and I get 5.2. So this is what you would do on your calculator. If you have a TI-30XA, who's got one? Who's got a TI-30XA? All right, this is what we're going to do. Right? It's really not much different at all than what I just did. Let's put them in. Let's go 9 squared. Everybody ready? Do it. 9 squared plus, there's a square button. All you got to do is hit square button, okay? So it's 9 squared plus 11 squared minus, then what? Parentheses, left parentheses. Then 2 times 9 times 9 times 11. Now here's the tricky part. Times, not cosine of 28, but what? 28 cosine. Okay, but then you got to close that parentheses. And then you got to hit equals. What do you get? 27.17 blah blah blah. Don't you get the same exact, you get that same exact number right there, don't you?
Yeah.
No, how can you not? Well, you're not punching in the numbers like I told you to. I gave you step-by-step example, okay? So now you put something wrong in. And then, listen, settle down. Wait a minute. No, wait a minute. Just let me finish this, then I'll do it one more time, okay? Then you hit square root button, and you actually have a square root button. You don't even have to hit second or anything on your calculator, and then you'll get 5.2. What you have to do is practice it. You've got to practice this. It doesn't necessarily come naturally to you. This is not like in elementary school where it's 5 times 3 and you hit 5 times 3 equals, okay? It's not that easy. This is something that you have to practice, because the hardest part about doing this problem is putting it into the calculator. All right? Okay, you asked me a question that I've answered already, and I was pretty clear about it. Question was, am I going to put the formula on the test?
No.
What did I say? I said memorize it. I said memorize it. I even wind the tape back, okay? I even said I will not put it on a quiz or a test. You have to memorize it. I went that far, okay, to tell you that. All right. So there you go. Did you get it yet?
No.
Look. Let me see the calculator. What's the number? TI 30 what? XA? All right. 9 squared.
9 squared.
Plus 11 squared. Minus. Left parentheses. And then 2 times 9 times 11 times 28 cosine, right parentheses, equals, do you have 27.17 blah blah blah?
Yeah.
Okay, hit square root. It's right next to the square. And you should get 5.2.
No.
Yes.
I got 738.
You didn't hit the square root button. Show her where the square root button is.
I
She's
did
just
the
busting
button.
it.
Don't say that. What?
She's busting your chops.
It's a little better.
That's the
Fully
square
like-
root button.
You kidding
You
me?
hit the wrong button. You hit the one with the exponent.
There's a square root button that looks just like this.
Okay, now I got it.
There's a button that looks just like that. Okay. All right, we got to do another one. We have to do one where we are solving for the angle. Now, you really better pay attention here. We got 10 minutes left in class, so you need to pay attention. And I really can't go much slower, okay? If you need me to repeat something, then what do?
Go back.
That's right. Go on YouTube tonight and repeat it. You can repeat it as many times as you want. And I won't even get mad at you. I will get mad at you in here if you ask me to repeat something that I said 3 times.
What?
All right. Is that a 6? Yeah, write this down. All right, here we go. Look, we're solving for x this time. Let's pay attention. Let's not talk anymore. Let's watch and pay attention. It's very important that you watch this, because if you're not paying attention, there's no way you're going to get this. It's a little bit more involved. The algebra is just a little bit more involved, but hopefully I'll show you a way where it shouldn't be that big of a deal. This time we're trying to solve for the angle. We're not solving for a missing side. We're solving for the angle. So let's take a look. Let's write it down. Remember what I told you to do? Every single time you do one of these problems, you should write down the law of cosine so you remember it. So it's c squared equals a squared plus b squared. That's the easy part. Then minus what? 2 ab cosine of c. This c and this c are opposite each other. So if I'm trying to find this angle this time, that's going to be this right here, isn't it? So this is going to be x. What's this little c going to be? It's going to be 8, right? Because this angle is opposite side 8, so the 8 has to be the c. It does make sense, doesn't it? Okay, so if I'm trying to find this angle right here, the c has to be the side that's opposite that angle. In this case, it's 8. So what's the 3 and the 6 in this problem?
A and B.
It's the a and b. Right. So let's plug everything in. So c squared, what is this? 8 squared equals a. Doesn't matter which one you pick. Let's go in order. Let's go small and then big. So let's go 3 squared plus what? 6 squared minus 2 times a, which is 3, b, which is 6. Again, it doesn't matter which order you put the 3 and the 6. You're just multiplying them anyway, right? Times the cosine of what? Of x. Now, this is a little bit trickier because you're trying to get x by itself. It's not a matter of just chucking all this in a calculator right now. All right? You have to do a little math. Let me go back in time a little bit. Watch this. What if I had this? What if I had 3 equals 5 plus 4x? What if I asked you to solve this problem right here, back in Algebra 1, or even pre-algebra? You might have had a problem like this. What would you do first? Subtract a 5, right? Subtract a 5. Everybody see that? Actually, let me do this. Let me make this a minus. Okay, watch. I would subtract a 5 from both sides, right? This is being multiplied. This is being added. You get rid of what's being added first, okay? With that in mind, listen, let's come back up here. We're trying to solve for x, aren't we? So which one do we get rid of first? We get rid of the number that's being what? Added to all this stuff. So what stuff on this right side is being added? The 3 squared and the 6 squared, right? Okay, so that's what I want to get rid of first. So how do I get rid of 3 squared? No, come on, look. How did I get rid of 5? I subtracted, right? You get rid of something that's being added by subtracting. You don't get rid of it by adding, do you? You get rid of it by subtracting. So look what I'm going to do. I'm going to subtract a 3 squared from this side. Everybody see that? And then I'm going to subtract a what? A 6 squared from this side. Well, if I do that to one side, I have to do it to the other side. So let's write the 8 squared over here already. So how do I get rid of this 3 squared? I just said it like 3 times already. Minus 3 squared. How do I get rid of this 6 squared? Minus 6 squared. Everybody see that? I don't have to show it underneath of here like I did in Algebra 1, do I? I know it's going to go away. Alright, so I don't even bother doing that. So I subtracted the 3 squared from both sides, subtracted a 6 squared from both sides. That's not so hard, is it? Alright. What I want to do is I want to be able to put this into my calculator all in one shot. Could you have sat here and made this 64, made this 9, and made this 36? Yeah, you could have, okay? But you don't need to. I like to just plug it all in my calculator, all in one shot, get it all done with, and I don't have to do all these millions of steps. To me, this is a little bit easier, okay? So now look, once we subtracted a 5 from this, what do we do over here? How do I get x by itself in this problem? I divide it. I divide it, right, by, in this case, a what? A negative 4. Everybody see that? All right? No. I don't even care what it equals. I just care about how to get rid of it. How do I get rid of something that's being multiplied? I do what? I divide. Look up here. Is there anything that's being multiplied by this thing here? What? It's not just a 2, though. What is it? It's a what? It's a negative 2, and it's a 3, and it's a 6. So I have to get rid of all 3 of those. How do I get rid of 3 things that are being multiplied? I divide. So look what I do. How do I get rid of a negative 2 if it's being multiplied? I divide by negative 2. You see that? That'll cancel out. How do I get rid of a 3 that's being multiplied? No. I divide. Listen, follow my steps, okay? How did I get rid of a negative 2? I divide by negative 2. How do I get rid of a positive 3 that's being multiplied? I divide by a 3. It's being multiplied, right? How do I get rid of this 6 if it's being multiplied? I divide by a 6. You see that? It's not hard. It's basically 2 steps. The first step is subtraction. The second step is what? Division. You see that? What does all that equal? Look, all that stuff canceled out. What does it equal? The cosine of x. Now, we already know this. We already know how to get rid of a cosine, don't we? Let's scooch this over. How do I get rid of a Say it. Inverse. That's right. You guys are paying attention, right?
Yes.
I think I'm losing you. Look, it's focus. Focus. So now you take the inverse of the cosine. So I'm just going to write it over here so I don't have to rewrite all that stuff. So this is what you're putting into your calculator right there. Again, it's not that big of a deal. Let's do it. What I would do, I'll tell you what. Let me do that. Remember that big parentheses stuff I did earlier? Let's do the same thing. Watch what I'm going to do. See how all this stuff divided by all this stuff? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a parentheses here and here. And then I'm going to put a parentheses here and here. See how I put those yellow parentheses? You have to place those in yourself. There's other ways to do this, I understand. But I think this is what's good for me. Well, I got 4 yellow parentheses, right? I said you got to put those in yourself. No, the purple ones is just the algebra. Watch this. let's just do it like this. We're going to go 8. Let's do a parentheses first, okay? Because I'm going to put all the stuff on top in one parentheses. So watch how easy this is. It's 8 squared minus 3 squared, or squared right there, minus 6 squared. Okay, and then close that parentheses. Do you see the yellow? All right, I got my parentheses there. I had to put those in myself. All right, that's why I made them a different color, just to know that you put them in yourself that way. Divided by what? Parentheses, right? And then negative 2. Watch, on this calculator, you hit the negative and then the 2 like this. Actually, yeah, that's right. Times 3, you got to hit times, and then times 6, close parentheses. Everybody see that? Look, the top stuff is in parentheses, the bottom stuff's in parentheses, okay? I hit enter, or equals, and I get this number right here. Everybody see that? Okay. But I got to take the what? The inverse cosine. So on this one, I hit second function cosine of all that. How do I get that number in there? Yep, I hit answer, and then, boom, there it is.
Yes, I did right.
Okay? So it's 0.8. It's a degree. We round it to the nearest degree. What's it going to round to? 122. That's right. So x is equal to 122 degrees. That's how you do it. Now look, if you have a TI-30, it's not much different. It's really the same thing, except you hit it equals here. Hit 8 squared minus 3 squared minus 6 squared, parentheses. Actually, you don't even have to put a parentheses on the 30. Then you hit equals. Then you divide. Now this parentheses is important right here. Okay? Then you hit divide. Then you hit negative 2 times 3 times 6. Close that parentheses. Hit equals. Hit second function cosine, and you should get that number. So that's how you do it. You have to practice these, okay? You must practice using your calculator, all right? Because it's not that easy unless you practice. Now look, what you're doing tonight. Listen to me so you know what you're doing. You're doing the rest of the worksheet. So you're doing 9 through 16 from worksheet 8-6, okay? So what is it? It's page, what is it, 38 or 48 or something like that? What's the 38? Okay. So there it is right there. Why is everybody standing up? Bell hasn't rung yet. Sit down till the bell rings. That's your homework. That's due tomorrow. I'm going to give you another worksheet. You're going to practice this stuff tomorrow. Okay? I'll give you plenty of practice on this stuff. All right? I want you to learn how to do this. You are capable of doing this. But you have to practice it. You can't just sit here and watch me do this and expect to know how to do it. You've got to practice it on your own. Everybody got it? Okay.